Now we have installed the Visual Studio Code and configured the node and npm in that machine. Now we will use the npm to build a Node.js application with Express.js. So Express.js is an additional set of libraries outside of the core Node.js library, which can enable you to build the HTTP endpoint like REST APIs. So let's see how that experience looks like. So I'll go into my demo machine where I was working before, and that's the demo I created. And in this, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to continue adding references. Now, if you notice here, in the package.json, in this, we have no dependencies. So ideally, if you have dependencies, this package.json will show up the name of the dependencies. Right now, we don't see any. We can add them by npm install. I stands for install, and I will install Express. So Express.js will be added into my development thing, and then there will be a folder created called node_modules, and then you will find that there will be a change made to my package.json called dependencies, and it'll have Express with a version 4.17.1, right? That's a major version, that's a minor version, and this is a hotfix number, right? So that's the model it takes, tell you exactly which version you are using, and then you can see that the node modules got created. And because Express.js uses internally a lot of other libraries, you'll find all of them now part of this list, right? So, but it didn't bring them all in one by one. It is the Express who brought it to this list. Now this can become really heavy. The more and more packages you add, it becomes really heavy. So we don't really ship the node underscore modules with our code. We rather do something called npm install. If you do that, and if you have the package.json file, it'll download all the necessary components from the package.json dependency list from npm server, and then have it in the machine. You don't need to ship those libraries with your code. So your code really small, but your set of libraries could be large. So just to avoid those things, you can take that kind of approach. Anyways, we have now Express with our application. Go to server.js. We delete this console.run, and we start writing a small piece of code to enable the Express. Now to do that, let me write this, and I say const Express, and you will find everywhere people follow the same coding pattern. I'll say require, okay, and that will give me Express. So I'm basically creating an object using the require keyword, and then I will have another constant called app, and I will use Express and initialize this Express with that. Next thing, I need a port against which my application will run. So I'll give the port number 5001. Okay, any free port you can provide. Now to initialize this Express, you need listen, app.listen, and then you pass on the port. In that, whatever the port number you mention, you provide the port number, and then you provide an arrow function. And that arrow function coming from ES6 will basically do something over here. So if you type this, and in the line, you can add a small console.log over here saying that this is returning, this is listening to port number certain, right? So I'll say log, that's one of the easiest way to type, console.log, and then you will be able to so I'll just type properly here. Give me a moment. It's not. Suddenly this machine has become a bit slow, but it's okay. So we'll say console.log. And then inside this console.log, I'm gonna put this port, dynamic port, listening to port dollar port. Okay, so this is what I will be displaying. That's all I need. And because I do not have any HTTP method defined, I need to define at least one HTTP method, that is get. So let's say app.get, and that HTTP method takes this slash. Let's take a default slash, and then I will use arrow function, but this time I will say request response. So I pass two parameters in that, and then this arrow function basically returns me something. So I'll say response dot send, and I send some text, a random text. Hello? Da, 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 da. Okay, that's the text I'm gonna return. I finish this off with semicolon. Now that's my Express looks like. Now to run this, simply you need to do node.server or npm start depending on the script you have defined in that. It tells you that it is running in in the local host port 5001. Just to check if it is really running in that, what you can do, you can say local host colon 5001. And if you run that, it shows you the hello. Now if you run them side by side, just so that we can come back and then check it out again and again. You see over here, I have got this running somewhere, and I have my Visual Studio Code. I change this to hello 1. Okay, now there is a change. So that will not reflect. If I save it, come back, it is autosave by the way, so I enable this autosave feature. In the Visual Studio, it's pretty convenient. I don't have to click hit save every time I make any changes to the file. It'll be taken care. But if I refresh it, it's not going to reflect. So I need to stop this, and then I need to run it again. So I'll say node server again, and it will start listening to port 5001. And if I refresh, you see the hello one. So this is my first Node Express thing is working fine. Now, one of the things which is pretty inconvenient at this point in time is that every time I make some changes, add something, I always have to go back and then do this kind of stop start. We have a couple of ways to do that. NodeMon is one such way, which we will be discussing in our next demo. How can we use NodeMon for our development kind of activity and then build something which is seamless? Now, just to let you know that it is another NPM package, you need to bring it into your project and then run it. Now, one of the things I wanted to highlight over here is that in the NodeMon kind of scenario, because it is a purely development activity, you will probably prefer to install that in a dev mode rather than installing in for the production. So you don't need those things in the production. It's only for development activity. So you will be basically installing NodeMon as a dev mode, right? So in that case, you will find in the package.json, there'll be a different. You can absolutely do that in the normal mode. There is no harm doing that. So, but just in case it is very specific to development, like testing, like debugging, etc., you can run them in a dev mode, and then they will not be shipped with your final installation, right? So this is what I wanted to talk about. What is there in the Node and Express, how you can use NPM to bring in a new library, Express.js, and then build your first HTTP API. We will talk more about Express because Express is important, and that's the backbone of Node system when you build HTTP endpoints. We'll talk more in details about Express in our future videos, but that's all for you now, just to give the idea. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.